Hi, I'm Emily, and welcome to Emily Ask. This podcast is about real life tools. If you want to give your teenagers a real advantage in life, this is where it starts. We talk about what school doesn't teach, like money, confidence, decision making, AI, and the future. In each episode, I give clear, simple tools that both teenagers and parents can apply immediately. Because in a world that's changing so fast, knowledge is power, and those who understand it would lead. Today I'm hosting Nikki, a crypto expert and the head of operation at Block, and she'll be explaining in simple ways what is Bitcoin, what's the difference between USDT and Ethereum, and why is everybody talking about crypto. In a world where money is becoming more digital, those who don't understand it are going to fall behind. That's why it's important to learn money from a young age, because that's what's shaping our future. If you find this conversation valuable, don't forget to follow and share it with someone who might need it. Hi guys, welcome to Emily Ask, everything teenagers
and their parents
need to know
in 2026.
Today I'm with Nikki. Nikki, could you please present yourself?
Yeah, of course. So my name is Nikki and I'm head of operations at the Block. So I work on external projects, internal projects, and then also managing the internal day-to-day operations at the Block.
And you are in crypto, which is so surprising as not many girls are there. Why do you think that there are more men in crypto, even though it's equal?
To be honest with you, from my experience, there is plenty of women in crypto. I just think maybe sometimes the men are louder because we tend to shy away, especially when we're new at something. I think generally men have more false confidence, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's something that women lack. And so we kind of shy away until we're sure that we know everything and there's no question that we cannot answer, and then we kind of bring ourselves into the spotlight. But also, crypto has stemmed out of the traditional financial market, which was male-dominated, and so naturally, more men migrated from that traditional world into the crypto world.
That's very interesting to go over because most think that there's only men in crypto. It's barely seen as only women. Very surprising to see a woman in
Our
crypto.
team is actually majority women.
Really?
Yeah.
That's really amazing to see.
Thank you.
My next question is, what actually brought you into the world of blockchain, and what did you misunderstand at the beginning?
So I used to work in the oil and gas sector, which is very traditional sector. And Abu Dhabi Finance Week last year, the founder of the Block, he's an old family friend, he asked me to go with him. So we went to Abu Dhabi Finance Week. My goal was to find like banks, financing partners that could help in the oil and gas world. But once we started sitting at tables, talking to investors, talking to different funds, I realized that a lot of the money from the world is being directed towards the crypto industry. Investors are all setting up funds to invest into crypto, into blockchain, into Web3. And so I followed the money here.
Why do you think school doesn't teach crypto, even though teenagers are exposed to it on a daily basis?
So I think schools avoid teaching about crypto for the same reasons they don't teach you about stocks or Forex. And that's because it has a risk associated with it. So obviously they don't want to be teaching teenagers or young kids about crypto, and then the kids would go and try to invest their money and then lose the money, and then the school would be held responsible. And so I think it's them trying to stay safe. They generally avoid any topics that could lead kids to make investment decisions, which I don't think is correct, because the less educated the generation is, the higher the risk of them investing into a wrong vehicle or losing their money.
What is the difference between traditional economy and the decentralized economy?
Decentralized economy.
Yeah.
So it's in the world. You have the centralized and decentralized. So centralized means everything is centered in one place. If you want to transfer money to your friend, what do?
Oh, you just transfer it from a bank.
From
basically.
bank. So the bank is in the middle. So you have to send the money through the bank to your friend. But in a decentralized economy, so we have decentralized exchanges, for example, where you have peer-to-peer trading. You own your asset. Nobody else touches your asset. And if you want to transfer some of your assets to your friend, you do it directly from your wallet to her wallet. There's no one standing in the middle. So there's no central control. The control is decentralized. It's spread throughout the users.
That's really important and interesting to go over because usually you have to go through the bank, but now it's just digital and there's no one really in the middle.
Yep.
So you basically control it.
So in the traditional world, if you transfer money, so if you transfer dollars in your UAE bank account, the central bank of the United States has to approve that transfer first because they have control over dollars and they can freeze your transaction, they can hold your money. That's because they have the power. In a decentralized economy, when you're making transfers, no one is able to freeze that transfer or hold up your money because the power is with you. You decide what you want to do and when you want to do it.
That's very interesting to go over because it gives us financial freedom, especially for women, because nowadays sometimes some men think, oh, women, she can't have this or she can't have that. And like you said, the bank sometimes frees your money or they decide how you're going to use your money or how much you're going to spend, which isn't fair because it's your money, so it's your decision. So I think that's really good and it's a step into the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
My next question is, what is Bitcoin? Could you explain it in simple terms?
So Bitcoin is like, it's a currency. It's like digital gold, basically. It's valuable because it's limited. So when you look at money, money has some characteristics. One of those characteristics is it's scarce. If we had unlimited money, then it has no value, right? So Bitcoin is valuable because it's scarce, it's limited, it's difficult to get, same as money. So you can't just find it anywhere. There is a set of very difficult math equations that a computer has to solve in order to get the Bitcoin. That's what's called mining. And it's accepted worldwide as a currency, so you can use your Bitcoin to purchase things. That's another characteristic of money. And it's easy to carry around with you, which is another characteristic of money. And so it's basically just a digital currency that people use the same way they use dirhams or dollars.
Can you also explain in simple terms what is USDT?
Yeah, so USDT is a stable coin. And this is a very good question because when people think about crypto, they just think about something like Bitcoin, but they're all very different. So Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency, which I just explained. USDT is a stable coin. A stable coin means that it's backed one-to-one by a currency. So USDT is a USD stablecoin, which means it's backed one-to-one by dollar. So for every USDT that we have on chain that we use, there's a dollar in a reserve somewhere being held to back it up.
That's really good because sometimes Bitcoin can go up and down.
Exactly.
And then you can lose your money. So
Exactly.
here it's a bit more safe and less
Yeah,
risk.
it's the same as having dollar in your wallet. The only difference is it's easier to transact because it's digital.
And can you also explain what is Ethereum and how you can use it?
Yeah, this is a very good question as well. So Ethereum is a utility token. So a lot of people treat Bitcoin and Ethereum the same, but they're very different. So Bitcoin equals currency and USDT equals stablecoin. Ethereum is a utility token. So utility means to use something, right? Utility tokens are tokens that exist because they give an advantage to you. In the case of Ethereum, we have the Ethereum blockchain. So a blockchain is basically like a data storage box, a place where you can store data. So I transfer you some money, that information will be stored on the blockchain. When you want to use the blockchain to store your data, you need to pay a fee, and that's what's called a gas fee. Now, every blockchain has its own token. So the token Ethereum is for the Ethereum blockchain. So if I want to use the Ethereum blockchain to store my data, I have to pay the fee in Ethereum token. Do you get that? Mm-hmm. So now there is a utility for that token. There's a specific use case, which is what makes it valuable. Now, it's not only to store your data. People build apps on the blockchain. So to build those apps, to create these projects, they use the Ethereum utility token, which is what gives it value.
My next question is, if you started from zero, what is the smartest first step you should take in the crypto world?
Educate yourself first. The mistake I made was I decided I want to try it alone and I lost money, which is normal in the beginning. But if you're interested in investing into crypto, the first thing you should do is learn everything there is to know about it.
Do you have to do it with someone? You said you did it alone.
Yeah.
Do you have to
It would be great if you can find a mentor. There's a lot of people online that are educating others on crypto, on Forex. I would say just make sure whoever you're learning from has accomplished what you want to accomplish. So they're not new in the industry or just someone selling courses. Look at their profile, look at their history, but you really need to learn the different types of tokens. So we just discussed a cryptocurrency, a stablecoin, and a utility token. There's also RWAs, which are real world assets. There's also meme coins. So you need to learn the difference between these and then learn how to study a token. So if you're looking at a utility token, how can you judge and evaluate that the utility is strong enough so that more people will want to use the token so that the value goes up? And you do this by reading the white paper of a token, which is a study, a report that explains everything about the token. So you need to really educate yourself, learn everything there is to know, so that when you're making decisions, you're making educated decisions.
A lot of people are afraid to say, I don't know how to do this, or I'm scared to do it. Where can they go, like you said, a mentor somewhere? Where can they go to learn all of this? Where can they find all of these mentors?
So a great place to start, in my opinion, is Binance Academy. They have their own courses for beginners where they start explaining crypto. They explain how you can build on-chain. So even for young people that want to maybe start a business in this industry, it's a great place to start learning. And it's obviously backed by Binance. They're a very trusted brand. They're licensed. They're regulated. So that's a great place to start. But also nowadays, with the technology that we have, you have all the information at your fingertips. You can just ask ChatGPT, I want to start learning about crypto. Where should I start? And it will give you a whole lesson plan. Learn this first, and then learn this, and then learn this. And you have unlimited resources online. And then my second advice would be to find someone that you find successful and just reach out to them. A lot of people are very happy to mentor and advise and guide you. So just find someone that is successful in the field and reach out, and I'm sure they'll be more than happy to help.
Thank you very much for sharing all of this valuable information. A lot of people don't know what to do or are scared to ask. So I think this is a really important podcast, and it's really good to go over.
Yeah.
It's a very big deal, like nowadays with all of the blockchain and all of the money. In the future, maybe there's not going to be any more paper money, and there's only going to be digital money, and a lot of people don't know how to use it. So a lot of people will probably be worried or not know. So this is important to learn from a young age.
Yeah, it is very important for young people to learn about money as a whole and the monetary system and the financial systems, because this is what's going to lead your life. It doesn't matter what industry you go in, finances and money, investing, saving, growing your wealth is always going to be a big factor in your life.
Yeah.
So it's very important to start learning about these things from a young age.
Mm-hmm. My next question is, if you want to open a crypto wallet, what is the first biggest mistakes that beginners would make and that they should avoid?
Not doing their research. So you need to make sure, for beginners, normally they would open a wallet on the platform that they're trading on. So you have different types of wallets. There's hot wallets that are online all the time. And then there's cold wallets that are devices that are separate from your computer. And you store your crypto on them, and then they're offline. So there's no risk of someone hacking your wallet. So there's different types of wallets, and there's different ways that you can use them. For beginners, usually they would sign up to an exchange and then create a wallet in that platform. So you'll download Binance, create an account, and get a Binance wallet. And then as you become more active, doing more trades, holding more crypto, that would be the time to then get a cold wallet, so you're not risking your crypto. It's not online all the time. The most important thing is to make sure whatever platform you're using is regulated, so there's no chance of fraud or scam, or for them to just say, oh, we're bankrupt, we're not going to be able to return your funds. So Binance is a great one. OKX is regulated as well. You can go to the website of VARA, VARA, the Virtual Asset Regulatory Authority in Dubai, and you can see a list of all the exchanges that have a license. And you can also go to ADGM, Abu Dhabi Global Market. That's the regulator in Abu Dhabi. And you can also see a list of everyone that has a license. So it's always important to make sure that you're using a regulated platform in the start. And then you can move into the decentralized world where there's no regulation and there's, more freedom. But it's important to start in a regulated space.
Mm-hmm. Fraud, this is really coming into my next question, it's really highlighting what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Is a lot of times people start crypto and then they get fraud and they do this mistake. What mistakes usually cause them getting
They
still
want
in the
fast
money?
money. You will never be a millionaire overnight. Not with crypto, not with Forex, not with stocks, not with anything. If you want to build that wealth, you have to train yourself, you have to educate yourself, and you have to go step by step. So what happens usually is people will hear about a meme coin. So a meme coin is a coin that has no value. It's just popular because it's popular. Have you heard of like Pepe coin or the Trump
Yeah.
coin? These are meme coins. They don't have any utility. They're not backed by anything. It's not like there's a limited supply. So technically there's no value. It's just a piece of paper. It's not cash. But they make hype out of it. They make it a trend. You'll see influencers talking about it. You'll see Elon Musk posting about it. Then people start buying it just because they think it's going to go up. So it's like gambling, basically. And it reaches a point, it's up, and then everyone starts selling, and then it crashes and you lose your money. Usually that's what happens. So if you ever hear, oh, buy this coin now and it's going to 100x by tomorrow,
Don't listen to them.
you have to be careful. So the worst mistake is people that are chasing to become a millionaire overnight. You need to educate yourself, go step by step. I didn't get involved in the decentralized exchanges until like a year after I started learning about crypto, because that's where most of the danger lies. As when you're going with the regulated exchanges, they don't really list a lot of meme coins. They're careful about how protecting their investors. So start there. Make sure you're educated on what you're buying, what the utilities are, and then you can move into the riskier side of this world.
What you said is really interesting, and you explain it in such simple terms, which is really easy to understand. And like I said before, people don't know about this and they want to. So you explain it in such a good way, and I think this
Thank
podcast
you.
is really important.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And my next question is, why is Dubai becoming a global hub for crypto, and what opportunities does it create for young people?
So the reason Dubai is becoming popular in crypto is because the government is working with the community. So, for example, in Dubai, we didn't have a regulator to regulate crypto until VARA was established. And something Dubai did that was very different was, so in America, crypto is regulated by the SEC, who are the same people that regulate stocks and the traditional market. That's why they had a lag, because for you to adjust those same rules and make them for crypto, a whole new product, it takes a lot of time and it's very confusing. But what Dubai did was they said, we're going to bring a whole new regulator, a whole new set of rule books, so that it's structured for crypto, which is what gave it a big advantage. Because, like, for example, if you have to follow the same rules of your homeroom class in grade 1, in grade 12, it's not going to work, right? Like, you're too old for those rules. Those rules don't apply to you. So it's the same concept. The regulators that were regulating the traditional market, trying to now adjust all those laws and make them for crypto, it's going to take a very long time. But Dubai introduced a whole new regulator, a whole new set of rules, which made it easier for people to understand what they can and cannot do. Because this is a big problem in crypto. You look at the rules and you're like, okay, can I do this? Does it apply to me? Because the rules are not made for this product. They're made for the old products, right? Mm-hmm. So this is one thing that makes Dubai popular. The second thing is the community and the support that you find. We have a lot of ecosystems that support crypto companies and startups. There's DMCC, there's Innovation City, which is actually in Ras Al Khaimah. There's obviously the block. So there's a lot of different ecosystems, communities, accelerator programs that fund startups, support startups. There's Hub 71 in Abu Dhabi as well. So overall, they just provide a safe environment for people to work, and they allow for innovation. So when there's a new idea, other countries usually say, no, stop, let us make the rules, and then you can continue. But what Dubai does is they say, okay, they create a sandbox, which means come, implement your idea, let us see how it works, let us see what the issues are, and then we'll make rules for it so you can continue. Mm-hmm. So they don't block your path, they just help you find the right way. But in other jurisdictions, usually the regulator will block you until they have rules ready so that you can operate.
What skills matter most today if someone wants to be successful in the world of AI and crypto?
Curiosity. You need to be very curious, ask questions, do research, because if you're not curious, then you're just gonna kind of be in a standstill. So we're in a world, in AI and crypto, things are changing day by day. The technology is developing, companies are doing different things every single day, rules are changing every single day. So you really need to be a curious person so that you can keep up with all this new information.
And my last question is, knowing everything you know today, if you could go back to being 14 now, what would you do differently?
I would start learning about money earlier. If I could go back to my 14-year-old self, I would say, open your computer, go to Google and type in what is money and how does it work, and read and read and read and read. That's the most important thing, because in school they will teach you everything. In university they will teach you everything, but nobody's going to teach you the real fundamentals of the monetary market. Why do interest rates go up and down, and how does that affect the stock market? How does that affect gold? How does that affect the dollar against the euro? Why is the dollar against the euro? There's so many aspects that once you learn them, your mind really opens up on how you can create and maintain your wealth. So if you're young and you have the opportunity now, you have the internet, you have AI agents, just start learning everything you can about money and the monetary system.
Thank you so much for coming here and explaining everything in such a simple way. It was really so interesting. I felt like I learned so much today.
Amazing.
This was such a good podcast to go over. It's really stepping into the future and everything we should know. Thank you so much for coming. I was so honored to have you. If you guys have any question for Nikki, please write them in the comments. And maybe next time we'll do another podcast. We'll go over every question you have. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you guys for watching.
Thank you.